Hey, folks, welcome back again to Lung Transplant Nation Conversation Series. My name is Sasha, I'm your host. And now, the second part of the conversation with Steve, basically, he's going to tell you what caused him to have pulmonary fibrosis. And it's a very interesting story, and I think that can help people out. So please stay tuned, listen to it, and I also would discuss something that happened to him that he said for the first time that he was in fear for his life. So please enjoy the second part of my conversation with Steve. And please don't forget to like and subscribe, Lung Transplant Nation, YouTube, and on Instagram as well. Thank you.
Down and take a break.
Yeah.
So here it is, a couple of years later, and I can do 3 or 4 miles a day,
Go.
4 or 5 times a week.
Hey, folks. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Mr. Steve Schuyler. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you soon at Lung Transplant Nation on Instagram and on YouTube as well. And also, I'm starting a new line of podcasts on Spotify. So check me out. Lung Transplant Nation on YouTube, Instagram, and on Spotify. Thank you.
Caused by my exposure to dust and sawdust and you name it,
Yeah.
everything on a
Yeah.
building site. So,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, here I am doing well, doing great. So thankful for my doctors, for my friends in this program who helped me to stay strong, and you know, and a wonderful family and support structure here at home.
Yes, and that is key. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to ask you. I'm glad you mentioned that because it is so important to have a strong structure, family, friends, neighbors, whoever it is. You know what I mean? It's so important to have those kind of people around you, and also to keep a positive mindset. To me, that's what really got me going. Those days that I was alone, in the hospital, but I had, people sending me card, sending me messages, you know what I mean? Just leaving voicemail. And that is so important. That is part of the process, having a strong foundation, strong people that care and have love for you. I mean, don't you think that's part of the key as well? The mental aspect for you to keep going to be strong on those difficult times?
Absolutely, absolutely. You got to have a positive attitude. You got to bring a positive attitude and a real work ethic to it.
Yeah.
I didn't all of a sudden start walking 3 miles a day. I worked up to that, and I remember right down the street from my house is I turned onto a seldom used road, and there's a little bit of a hill there at the beginning, and there were times when I would walk to that hill and say, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And now it's like, now I blow through it.
It's a breeze.
I do
There you go.
remember, I do
It's a
remember,
breeze.
in the run up to the transplant, you see every specialist you can imagine, and you speak to shrinks and psychologists and the financial people, and so I spoke to Dr. Frank Diovidio, who is the chief surgeon of the lung transplant program at Columbia Presbyterian, and I told him how I just wanted to get back into the mountains. I live in the mountains and I've always hiked in the mountains and camped, and I told him I just want to get back there. And he said to me, and you can get back there. You will get back there because you will get through this. And that really buoyed me at that time and made me feel like I can do this and this will happen. And so now I do a lot of hiking in the mountains, and I think my mountain climbing days are over, but maybe not too. So I'm still working on improving my endurance and my
Stamina. Yep.
capabilities
Hmm.
and stamina, and who knows. So I just got to stay strong and keep a positive attitude and keep working toward my goal.
That's right. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. It is a process. It is a process. It's almost like, well, for me, I had to relearn things. It's like you had to start over and you gotta build it up. Okay. So it is a process. And I definitely can attest to that. So Steve, let me ask you one more thing here. So what would you say to people that are now on the transplant list? Because there's a lot of doubt. Because I remember, when I was on transplant list, I didn't belong to a group. I didn't know anybody, like you said, who had transplant before. So to me, I was kind of finding things out, on my own. But what would you say to people that are on the transplant list, that are on the, waiting? What kind of message would you give them?
So, I was tested on a regular basis for a variety of things before the transplant and before I was listed. Occasionally, I'd meet people who had been transplanted at the hospital. I would talk to them. I had a friend of friends of mine who had been transplanted at Columbia Presbyterian. I called him up, and he's now in our transplant support group. Eric, his name is. He was a big help to me. He recommended a book to me. The name of the book is When Death Becomes Life, and it's about transplants.
When death becomes life. Okay, that's good to know. When death becomes life.
And that helped me out a lot, just reading about the process. The other thing, too, is that Columbia Presbyterian at that time, and this was just before COVID, Columbia Presbyterian was running seminars for people that were on the list or were hoping to get on the list. And my wife and I did go to them on a regular basis. So half a dozen or 8 times a year, maybe once a month, we would go to these seminars at the hospital, and they would have one of the specialists on the transplant team come in and make a presentation about their area of specialization. That was really informative, and it kind of took some of the mystery, some of the doubt, some of the questions. They answered some of the questions that we had about transplant. That was really helpful. I don't know, and I know that they stopped that when COVID became so bad in New York City. And I don't know, Sasha, whether they're running that again. And maybe we should look into that and see if they are, because that was a real great resource for me. Did they have that, Sasha, when you were listed?
Well, when I was listed, I really didn't even inquire because I had so much going through my mind, to be honest with you.
That's right. And you were hospitalized beforehand.
Yes. So I was hospitalized early August, if my memory serves me correctly, and I got transplanted in late October. So I was hospitalized at Weill Cornell for a couple of weeks, and then got transferred to Columbia Presbyterian. That's why when you're naming those doctors, they're all familiar, to me, because Columbia had the high flow machine to help me breathe that Weill Cornell didn't have. So they transferred me there, and I've been there. So yes, I had a lot of these exposed to me because they would come and talk to me. They even gave me a counselor to talk to. They even had praise, coming through if you wanted to talk to somebody. So that was great. That was great as far as like having a support system besides, your family, your loved ones, and your friends. So that was great. Being in a hospital, they did give you option, even somebody having to come and play you the guitar, the piano, or whatever it is, or the flute. I mean, it was really, really soothing because you don't feel that loneliness, because after a while, when you see all the nurses, the doctors, they kind of become, okay, fine. But when somebody else comes around, I've spoken to a priest, I've spoken to a Buddhist monk. I mean, you name it. I mean, it was refreshing. It was refreshing to be able to engage with different people. And I think part of it really is to have a positive attitude, because everybody's different. I know some people, because I belong to some groups on Facebook, some people, they got transplanted literally a couple of days later. I don't know how it happened. They're home. I mean, literally they're home like within a few days. Others like me, after transplant, I got transplanted on the 22nd, started on the 21st, and then on 22nd of October. And I was home on December 9th and been in hospital since August. So everyone's journey is different. But the bottom line is we are here. We are making the most of it. And also, in the few minutes that we have left, tell people a little bit about the aftermath. Yes, not just, you got to do your due diligence, but there are like little tune-ups that happens, periodically, like, because every week, because I remember in the hospital, they were doing a bronchoscopy for me, like literally every week. And then it became every month. So what was your experience with regard to, getting back to the hospitals? How often did you have to do that? And then, in the few minutes we have left.
So here's my experience. Everybody has setbacks of one kind or another. My lung came with a virus called cytomegalovirus, a very common virus, harmless most of the time, but for people on immunosuppressants, it can be a real problem.
Mhm.
So I have blood work every other week at this point. My medications are changing, and in response to my physical condition, my blood work. If and I love the way at Columbia Presbyterian the doctors really work as a team. They talk to each other. Different specialists, different specialties talk to each other. They don't just they're not just sole operators. They really work as a team. And I love that because not everybody knows everything about everything.
That's right.
And so anything that comes up, anything that has come up in the 2 years since my transplant, the doctors have responded to, and my condition has improved because of the actions that they took. So, to go down a list of the setbacks that have happened, most of which were minor setbacks, the doctors responded appropriately, and things got better for me. Um, I don't know. I think I'd be dead if I hadn't been transplanted, and and my wife would be a widow, my daughter would be an orphan, but now here I am. I'm able to do everything that I could do beforehand within reason. I do wear a mask when I go out. When I'm in a public place, I do wear a mask. It really doesn't bother me. Nobody has ever said a word to me about wearing a mask. There's been no negativity whatsoever, and it's been nothing but positive for me at this point. So I think I'll keep doing it.
Absolutely. That is awesome. I mean, I share the same sentiment with you. It's like yesterday I had to go get a trim at the barbershop. That was a scary proposition. So what I did, I got the first appointment. I called him the day before and said, look, are you available when you open up? Because I told him I was immune, compromised. I mean, he knows. And but still within 10, 15 minutes of him, trimming my beard, the other guy started to come in, and I was like, oh my God, please no, but it's those little things. But I'm up to date with all my vaccines, my Evusheld, I mean, you name them, my boosters. I'm definitely up to date, and I'm sure you are too, because that's a precaution that we have to take. Well, Steve, we are winding down right now. I really want to thank you, sir, so much for taking the time for talking with me. And I'm pretty sure that's really going to help people that are on the waiting list and people that went to a transplant themselves. Folks, if you have any questions, you can send me an email at lungtransplantnation@gmail.com. And also, this will be on YouTube fairly soon at Lung Transplant Nation on YouTube. Steve, thanks again. Give my regards to your wife. Have a wonderful day. And we should do that again sometimes.
We will. Okay, Sasha. Good to see you again. You be well.
Same here. Thank you.
You're
Have
welcome.
a good one. Bye-bye.
You too.
Hey, folks. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Mr. Steve Schuyler. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. at Lung Transplant Nation on Instagram and on YouTube as well. And also, I'm starting a new line of podcasts on Spotify. So check me out. Lung Transplant Nation on YouTube, Instagram, and on Spotify. Thank you.